Okay, easy. Thank you very much for talking to us. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
So just tell us, how are you feeling going to fight week? One thing is there's also that it's a new weight class. How do you feel going up a weight class as well?
I started out at 85 and I dropped down to 170, but coming back up to 85 has been a dream because dropping down to 170, sometimes when I look at the scale and I'm 190, I'm like, I got 20 pounds to go. But now when I look at it, I'm like, 4 pounds to go is night and day.
I gotta ask, so what was the decision to go back up to middleweight? Was that a post-pandemic food splurge maybe, exercise, or is this a test run for 85? For 85 again, what's the backstory behind it?
Kind of a little bit of both. I like food, like to eat, but it's also just cutting down to 170. I found out you just lose a lot of energy, you lose a lot of strength, and every time I'm practicing, I'm in the practice room, I'm always touching at least 200. When I step into the cage, I can only get back up to about 185. And that. I don't know what that was, but yeah, I can only get back up to 185. So it's still, I would be tired. I would go in there still. I would have my arsenal, but I couldn't use it. Didn't have the energy for it. Didn't have the strength for it. And I felt like it takes a little bit away from your confidence as well.
So if this fight goes your way, you get a nice win there. Do you think 85 you'll stick there, or you're gonna go back to 170? Have you thought about that now?
I definitely might stick with 85. I just feel more stronger here, and I just feel like I'm more confident when it comes to like engaging in wrestling when I'm at 85.
And let's talk about your opponent, Taylor Johnson, 5-1. All 5 of his wins have been knockouts of some kind, and none have gone beyond the second round. Is that at all, when you see someone who has a record that they've knocked out all their opponents, is that sometimes get a little bit, you feel nervous that, maybe one punch and it could be all done? Or like, what are your thoughts when you see an opponent who has all knockouts?
I mean, like, that's how my record started out, just the same way, and if anything, it doesn't really make me feel like somebody can get knocked out. It makes me feel like he hasn't been to the last round. So it's like, for me, who's more experienced guys, he's just been going out there knocking out people, but who did he knock out? And I'm like, oh, he definitely won't knock me out. I feel like I'm pretty beyond that point.
And so do you think it's in your favor to grind out a decision for a fight like this? Because like you said, he hasn't gone that distance even. So do you think that, as soon as it gets beyond the second round, that's already you already have that in your favor?
Yes, just to kind of keep everything close, just keep dragging the energy out, taking it to the later rounds, and then that's where my technique and everything will kind of will take off. But I feel like in the first rounds, it's just like all fighters must do: keep your hands up, stay wary, and just try and find ways to lock his arms down, lock his body down, and get him to waste his energy.
And so, with this fight, you win. Have you decided what you want to do next? I know we talked a little bit about the sticking at 185. If you presumably do that, is there anybody at 185 that you would like to have next?
85, I haven't really thought about anybody. Only person I'm really focused on is the person with the belt, which is Musasi. But other than that, whoever's going to be in my way while I'm walking my path, I'm taking them out.
Speaking of Musasi, he's supposed to be facing Lima for that. It's supposed to be a middleweight fight for the middleweight title with him defending. What do you think about that fight? Who do you think? Who would you give the edge to in that fight?
I don't know. This fight is just, everything's so even. They're both wildly experienced. They're both decent strikers, and Musasi has a little bit more wrestling to him for what I've seen. But it's just a very even fight. Is either guy more taller? Usually that's a decision factor.
I think Musasi is about 6'1", I believe.
6'1"?
I think he is about 6'1". I think Lima's 5'10", 5'11". Maybe the height difference is not like a John Jones or Daniel Cormier thing.
Yeah, it's not a huge one, but that's what I mean. Like, everything with them is so similar that it's like this fight really can go either way. But it's just obviously I want. Well, before when I was at 170, I was like, I want Lima to win because then I get a chance to fight him, and then I could feel like I won 2 weight classes. But now it's like I'm at 85, so it's like I'm kind of partial to both guys now.
Gotcha. And so with this fight training, I'm curious, do you look at tape? Do you have your coaches look at tape? How did you how did you prepare for this fight?
Yeah, I watched tape. I watched some highlights here and there, but I mostly watched myself. I watched a lot of tape of myself in my last fights, and I just trying to see what can I do to go out there so I'm a better fighter, rather than just trying to play and strategize for this one fighter. Because every time you go out there, you get punched, and game plan's out the window.
Mm-hmm. And so there's going to be no audience for this fight. Curious to know, how do you feel about that? Is that something that things going to be great because you get your coaches, or I don't know? What do you think about that whole thing?
I like it because you can hear your coaches, and I feel like when you have a lot of people that's in there in the area, you feel their energy. And sometimes I don't like that. Sometimes I feel like if it's not in my favor, then I feel like the energy's against me. And sometimes you don't want that. If anything, I think with all those people gone, everything is more neutral.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you very much, Ed. Appreciate it. Go out and fight.
Thank you.